Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy Monday. Been a difficult few days across the country, but I'm gonna kick it off with a little toast to Northwestern Pritzker School of Law, not too far from our backyard here in Aurora, Illinois, with my coffee this morning. It's been a difficult few days, as I mentioned. I know about a week ago when I decided to come up with a topic for today, and the topic back in business with a side of conflict. I was planning on talking about the difficulties that both law enforcement, loss prevention, retailers are going to have to deal with people wearing masks, refusing to wear masks in stores, product shortages, customers that are probably more emotionally charged than normal. And then the last few days happened. And so when we talk about conflict, we still have what we were dealing with a few days ago, and now we have, the added tensions, racial tensions, and the protests, and the riots, and the loots, and just a lot of, unfortunately, negative energy going on out there that our industry is going to have to manage throughout. And so, I was going to keep today short, and still keep it to the point of managing conflict. And I think instead of highlighting all the negative obstacles and issues that have been going on the last few days, there's also been some positive and some good examples of conflict, how to be prepared for escalated situations. And I think these examples and just some of the few points that I learned from watching some of these examples the last few days can really be translated to whether you're a loss prevention professional and you're working in a retail store and you've got a customer who's irate because they have to wear a mask in your facility, or you're an employer and you have an employee who's upset that they have to get sent home because they flagged in a temperature check, or you have a protest going on in front of your agency or your department or your retail store location. I think all of these suggestions and things that I observed from watching leaders out in the industry handle it the right way, I think can all be related. I was just going to list just a couple things, couple people that I actually thought did a really great job. First and foremost, if you haven't seen Sheriff Chris Swanson out of Michigan near Flint, I believe, really good demonstration of leadership in the time of extreme stress and anxiety, working to de-escalate a situation that could have, as we've seen, easily got out of hand. In our hometown here in Aurora, Illinois, where the WZ office is, Chief Kristen Zeman, she did an incredible job of really preparation and strategy and communication with the community and being prepared for what was to potentially come from an escalated situation. Niagara Falls, New York, I have to give them a shout out, not too far from where I grew up. Another just great example, I saw protesters, fist bumping law enforcement at the end of a peaceful protest, and really just showed all three of these examples, and there's dozens more out there, where law enforcement professionals and protesters really work together in a situation that can easily spark out of control. So just a very few quick highlight points that I observed from these leaders across the country. I think number one was being prepared, understanding you have to have a contingency plan, whether it's staffing, it's scheduling, it's making sure if you're in the retail world, for example, you have a crisis management plan for whether it's a fire that starts at your building, or you have two customers that are frustrated and aggravated with each other. Do you have the appropriate protocols? Is your team set up for success on who they need to notify, when they're allowed to notify law enforcement, and what can and should happen? Another, and I think this one really hit home, as I saw a lot of emotion packed into these protesters, and rightly so, right? You can understand the outrage, but from the opposite side of an argument of not matching emotions. Right, when somebody's coming in, and it could be a customer, it could be a civilian if you're in law enforcement, when somebody's coming in with extreme emotion, extreme rage, is not matching that same level of emotion. And what I saw in the few examples that I listed was a great job done by law enforcement personnel or peaceful protesters maintaining respect for each other, right, and not increasing emotional outrage on both sides. And that really goes into the next point. What I took away is showing understanding, allowing people to have a voice. Sheriff Swanson, I think, was one of the quotes he said as he was really demonstrating how to be a good leader in this time. And he talked about, I want to make sure you all have a voice. And that's really what any type of escalated situation comes down to, is people either feel misunderstood or unheard. So when you're on the opposite side of that argument, is making sure that we are showing understanding, right? Allowing people to have a voice and understand their perspective. And the last piece that I took away, and I think most important, which really encompasses all of these bullet points that I'm going through, is in these extreme times of stress and desperation, is always maintain personal integrity, right? Be proud of who you are and be able to stand up for what you did, even if nobody was watching you. And I think if you follow that guideline, the rest of these should fall into place. One of these, I got all these quotes on the back of my wall, and one that's actually one of my favorite that's not up here was Gandhi. He said, "An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind." And I think when you start to talk about escalated situations and conflict, is keeping that in mind. Is if we want to make change and we want to improve, is we need to be able to listen to each other. We need to be able to understand what that rage is coming from, and how can we work together. So, sorry to kick us off on kind of a somber moment this morning, but hopefully we're inspired by some of the really positive moments of leadership and togetherness we saw over the past few days, outside of all the craziness that's going on in the world. So I hope that this week continues to get better. I hope we see unity this week and togetherness. And cheers to Monday. Hope you enjoy your coffee, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning at 9:30.